So, welcome to the Intentional Teacher Podcast. I am so thrilled that you are here with me listening today. I hope that your December, if you're listening to it live, or that your week is going well at school. So, today I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to give a quick episode for you this week, and I wanted to share one tip that you can use to avoid feeling that feeling of overwhelm with your calendar, that feeling like you have too many things to do on your calendar and there are too many expectations of you, and you don't know how you're actually going to get your own work done. Because if you are anything like a lot of the teachers that I talk to, you likely really care about others. You don't want to disappoint people. You want to do the right thing and you want to be helpful. That's why we became teachers in the first place. But all of those obligations can really add up. And I know for me, when I remember teaching at one point, I was teaching grade 8 and 9. And I remember my school day kind of went like this. I would come to school and everything was pretty well organized. So it started off easily. And my day would kind of roll, but then I would be talking to kids all throughout nutrition break who needed me, or I would go to I would go and do my photocopies, or someone would need me. So I'd run through that. And then I would go through my second class. And then all through lunch, I would be either working with students or talking to a staff member who needed me. And or I would just be prepping for my afternoon and someone would interrupt me. And then I would teach my 2 afternoon classes. I would feel super exhausted and want a quick snack. And then a bunch of kids would come into my room and they would ask me questions about could they change this presentation? They needed help with their grammar or their homework, or a staff member would come in to talk to me. And I felt guilty saying no to him. So I would listen to his story and I would feel this itch of like, oh my gosh, I have so much work to do. How am I going to stop talking to this person? But I didn't want to be rude. And it was 4 o'clock by the time I actually got to do anything. So then I would try to find something to eat and then I would do some more work and then I wouldn't go home until late and the day would start all over again. So if you can relate to that, I wanted to give you a quick tip that you can use when someone asks you to do something for them. So maybe you're supply teaching or substitute teaching, and someone asks you to do something extra or come in on another day that you weren't planning on working. Or maybe your admin asks you to go and help set up for the winter concert, but you have a bunch of marking to do. Or maybe a parent really needs to talk to you and wants to make a meeting with you. Or maybe a colleague wants you to come, join this committee, or someone's asked you to go to an event, or even a friend has asked you to come out on Friday, and you're going to be super tired on Friday. So what do we usually do? Usually, if you are like me, or a lot of the teachers I work with, you'll go, oh, sure, that sounds awesome, without even taking a moment to think about if you can actually do it or not. And this is really where the problem is when we say yes right away without thinking about how it impacts us. That's when our calendars can really start to feel overwhelmed and really overfull. So what I would love for you to consider is every time you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. When you say yes to going to a staff committee meeting for the umpteenth committee meeting that there is at school, you might be saying no to having lunch for yourself, or saying no to helping a student, or saying no to a moment for yourself at lunch. There's no right or wrong. It's just whenever we say yes to something, we're saying no to something else. But oftentimes we're not thinking about who we are saying no to, which is usually ourselves. So what I would love for you to consider or try out, here's the tip, is instead of saying yes right away, because when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, you say, that sounds great. Let me take a look at my calendar and I will get back to you. So you never actually commit to something without taking a moment, looking at your calendar, and then getting back to someone. Because usually the times that we overbook ourselves is because we haven't looked and decided and taken a moment to decide if this is actually going to work for us in our schedule. We just say yes right away. So, my tip for you, and then I have a bonus tip after this too. My tip for you is to think about, before you actually say yes or no, and before you actually say yes right away, we want to say, that sounds awesome, or that sounds great, or whatever positive thing that you can say about that invitation. Let me take a look at my calendar, or let me take a look and see what my schedule is like, and I will get back to you. And then you can take a look and decide if you have the space for it and the bandwidth and the energy to devote to that next thing. The other reason I like starting with a positive is because we don't want, I'm guessing that you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. We want to, it's showing like that positive and that recognition of what they're inviting us to, or ask us to do, but we're not saying yes right away. Because here is the second tip that I want to leave you with today is, I was at an event recently at a conference, and there was a motivational speaker speaking, and she was amazing. And one thing that she said is that when we go to accomplish a big dream, we often have to disappoint other people. And I was like, I don't want to disappoint other people. Like, I don't like to disappoint people. But she said that that is normal and it is part of going after a dream. And at first I was like, oh, I don't know if I really want to do that. Like, I don't want to disappoint my kids. I don't want to disappoint my family. But then she said something that really hit home for me and has hit home for some of the other teachers I've shared this with. And that is, you need to make a choice if you are willing to disappoint somebody else or disappoint yourself. Because often when we disappoint someone else, they may be disappointed for a short period of time. But if we're disappointing ourselves over and over and over again, that can last so much longer. And we end up disappointing ourselves and putting ourselves last. But when we ask ourselves, is this worth disappointing myself? Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes you really want to do the right thing for somebody else, and that's totally fine. It's a balance, right? But if you're always disappointing yourself in favor of somebody else, that is really going to add up, and it can really help us make the decision, because I'm sure other people in your life have let you down at some point. And usually, unless it's a big one, but usually little things at school are something that we can get over relatively quickly. Like, depending upon the how big the disappointment or how big the ask is. But if you're always putting other people ahead of your own needs, and you're avoiding disappointing others and therefore disappointing yourself, maybe you're saying yes to everyone at school, and that means that you don't go to bed early enough because you have work to do, and you go to bed late and then you feel exhausted the next day. Maybe the avoiding disappointing somebody else means that you are trying to work and take care of your kids at the same time, which feels yucky. Maybe it is that you are giving and giving and giving so much at school that you're not eating well and your energy is suffering. Or maybe it's just, you have the bandwidth and you're ready to do something for somebody else. There's no right or wrong, but just remembering, just noticing the patterns, and that it's okay to disappoint someone else sometimes, and so that you're not always the one disappointing yourself. So I trust that that was helpful for you. I wanted to give you a short and quick episode to kind of bolster you, give you some energy this last month of 2023, if you were listening to it in real time. And so again, here is the tip. Instead of just simply saying yes to any calendar invite that comes your way or any request on your time, say, that sounds great, or I would love to, or let some sort of positive thing when you can. Let me take a look at my calendar, and then you can get back to them later, rather than saying yes right away. And you can be more intentional about things that you say yes to and the things that you are saying no to as well. If you like this episode, please let me know on Instagram. I love to hear from you. My Instagram is laurenmonique.teaching. And if you found this useful and you can think of someone who might find it helpful, I would love it if you shared this episode with them as well. I will be on again next week with more episodes of encouragement and inspiration for you as a teacher. And so I look forward to speaking with you then. Talk to you soon.